You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center.
Tonight on Cape Media News, a look at Yarmouth's Candidates Forum.
Plus, highlights of annual town meetings in Harwich, Dennis, and Chatham.
And later, a recap of This Week in Sports.
These stories and more are coming up next on Cape Media News.
Good evening and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyper-local news that matters. I'm Suzanne Tenner.
And I'm Jamie Horton. Last week, Select Board candidates for the town of Yarmouth attended a candidates forum hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Cape Cod area right here at Cape Media Center.
That's right, Jamie. Viewers can catch the full forum on our website, capemedia.org, or Cape Media Center YouTube page. But here's a quick look at each of the candidates.
This is such a great opportunity and so important for people to hear us and see us and meet us. And that is something that I'm working on at the town level. I have office hours at the Yarmouth Senior Center. So every third Thursday at 3, people can come in and ask questions and get caught up on what's going on with the town and the select board and so on. And I think that's one aspect that's very important. So I want to be your select board person to keep doing that. I also want you to know that I brought forward an energy manager grant. So we are in the process now of hiring a part-time energy manager through my work, so that's kudos to me. I'm also on your Cape Cod Metropolitan Regional Planning Organization. I was voted onto that, and that's responsible for working with the Department of Transportation on so many of the rebuilding roads and bridges and culvert issues. So I'm a watchdog there. They're already rolling their eyes because I'm very vocal. And I want to also shout out to this working board. The select board I've been on since December. I am now feeling at home. It takes time, and it's very important to have a select board that is cohesive and working towards the same goals, which we are. And our town administrator is top drawer, and we are a working machine that I'm very proud of, and I hope to return. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Dorcas, your closing statement, 2 minutes, please.
Well, I have lived and I have worked and I have volunteered in Yarmouth for over 30 years. I was for more than 15 years, I was chairman of the Recreation Commission and also served on the Community Preservation Commission, was one of the original members of the Economic Development Commission. I love this town. There is nowhere else, as I've said before, I'd want to be than here. And I know how important it is to each and every one of us that we have a viable living community. As Jerry was pointing out, the scary thing is how many of our young people are leaving. I can tell you for a fact that all of my friends, their children that I watched grow up here on Cape Cod, not one of them, not one, lives on Cape Cod today. They all moved off Cape. So we really have to look at what we can do. And that's a wide-reaching problem. That isn't just housing. It's the economy. It's finding jobs for these people to be able to be here, be able to afford it. But we also have to offer them some recreation. Is it going to be attractive for them to come and stay here? How are our schools doing? What do we need to do is really all-encompassing for being able to expand our town and really keep it healthy going forward. So one of the wonderful things about living in the United States is you have the freedom to vote whatever way you like. And so I just hope that when you do, one of those votes comes my way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Jerry, your closing statement, please.
Well, in regards to Dorcas's comment about how the young people leave, all I can say is they all come home. One way or the other, they all come back. I did at least. Well, I was born in Hyannis Hospital, and I was raised in West Yarmouth, and I remember how wonderful the Cape was as a young man growing up with my brothers, and my parents were founding members. They helped start the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce, and they own businesses here. I had a small business here, and it's such a great town. As we go through the town, we see things, and everybody has little complaints and moans about this and that, but not a lot of people want to do things. But up here today, you have 3 people that want to do things. There's a lot of people in town that do want to do things. I, for one, am prepared to just get my boots dirty. I will not hold office hours one day a month. I'll hold office hours whenever people want. If you need something, you call me, and I'll be there. And I think John Tolley, with the lobster issue, he's a good example of that. I stopped by his house a few months ago. Nobody from the town had gone to visit him, and I went to visit John and say, hey, John, what the heck's going on? And there's several people around town. When they've had issues, I've gone to talk to them. And just like when I knock on their doors, what is it that I could do for you if I am elected to be your next select board member? And they tell me, and I said, gosh, Don, that's not that hard. I'll do it. I can pick up the phone. I can come over. I can do this. And I'm prepared to do that. I'm willing to do it. I'm retired. I have my 2 little boys, and I take them to daycare, and after that, I'm raking leaves, or I'm doing other things around the yard. So please, put me to work as your next select board member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all 3 candidates.
The Mercy Otis Warren Cape Cod Women of the Year Committee has announced this year's award recipient. Known across the region as the face of Cape Cod's hospitality industry, Patty Lloyd of Yarmouthport is recognized for her contributions to tourism, business development, and community service. Last year, the American Bus Association introduced the Patty Lloyd Lifetime Volunteer Award, a national award that will be given annually to recognize outstanding volunteerism in her name. Patty has received numerous accolades, including the Massachusetts Hospitality Tourism Award and the Larry Meehan Lifetime Achievement Award for her contributions to the state's travel industry. A special ceremony will take place on Thursday, June 12th at the Colonial Courthouse in West Barnstable to honor Patty as the 2025 Mercy Otis Warren Woman of the Year.
Sheriff Donna Buckley unveiled a new public safety model last month focusing on the community facility known as the Bridge Center. Public Safety 2.0 reimagines incarceration as an opportunity for strategic intervention and aims to prepare individuals for stability and success. Located at the County Court Complex in Barnstable Village, the Bridge Center will provide post-release services in partnership with local organizations. These services include clinical care, job training, housing navigation, education pathways, parenting support, and arts and culture exposure.
These resources are designed to reduce reoffense, improve mental health, and thus further secure public safety. Sheriff Buckley reiterated the importance of this type of support, saying that in too many circumstances, people recidivate because the challenges of reintegration are overwhelming. The supports we provide in those in custody must continue upon release. Otherwise, we cannot act surprised when offenders return. We've built this programming with the community safety in mind. This is not about soft on crime politics. This is about smart on safety strategy. Public Safety 2.0 means we prepare people while they're in our care so they don't become your neighborhood's next emergency.
May is Tick Bite Awareness Month. As tick-borne disease rates continue to rise across the Cape, it's crucial to stay informed and aware. One disease in particular, called alpha-gal syndrome, is surfacing rapidly in the region. Bites from the Lone Star tick can cause sensitivity to the allergen in beef and red meat, known as alpha-gal. The most common symptoms of alpha-gal syndrome are long-lasting rashes and unexplained gastrointestinal upset hours after eating red meat or dairy products.
Female Lone Star ticks are easy to identify as they feature a single white dot in the middle of their bodies. If you find any kind of tick on you or your pet, Barnstable County Health Department recommends that you place it in a sealable plastic bag and order testing through the Health Department's partnership with TickReport.com. Residents of Barnstable County can now get free basic testing. For more information, read the tick testing article on capecod.gov.
Last week, the Yarmouth Division of Natural Resources responded to a report of a deceased whale on private property in West Yarmouth. IFAW was immediately contacted and sent staff out to evaluate the whale. The adult fin whale was 65 feet long, weighing 80 to 100,000 pounds, and was recently deceased prior to washing ashore. Biological sampling was conducted to gather information and assess the circumstances surrounding its death. The town of Yarmouth is working with federal, state, and local partners to identify the best way to dispose of the whale in accordance with federal requirements. Coming up after the break, meeting recaps and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cape Media News. Now that town meeting season is wrapping up, here's a quick recap of the Dennis, Harwich, and Chatham annual town meetings.
Across the Cape, spring town meetings brought major decisions before voters, from harbor investments, plastics policy, and even flight restrictions. In Dennis, Harwich, and Chatham, democracy wasn't just on display, it was in motion. In Dennis, the future of Sassuat Harbor West stirred the longest and loudest debate. Voters were asked to approve an $8 million renovation plan that promised new paved parking, ADA-compliant restrooms, and raised flood elevations.
This harbor investment is a decades-long investment. We will see this investment paid back many times over the next few decades. So whether you're on the slip waiting list, already have a slipper mooring, or like me, don't really know what those things are, join me and 4 out of the 5 members of the Select Board and vote for this project because it is well worth investing in Sassuat Harbor. Thank you.
But Select Board member Jim Plath objected, not to the project itself, but to how it would be paid for.
The first issue is the use of $1 million from free cash to help subsidize the project. It is your free cash. Yes, $1 million. It is up to you to decide. Is the global picture clear? The good of the whole community versus a smaller group of yacht and pleasure boat owners. Some who don't even live in our community, but over the years have had or been fortunate enough to have slips and docks that they pay less than half of what they would in any private marina on Cape Cod. I ask you to use your common sense. Is this $1 million not a stick and carrot approach to simply reduce the amount needed to borrow, hoping you might forget about saving money to pay cash for the fire ladder truck? Or should you ask yourself, does putting free cash into this project really affect the greater group of citizens and the needs of our community?
Despite arguments that improvements would serve the wider community, the article was decisively voted down 235 to 79. In Harwich, voters wrestled with a very different issue, plastic, specifically whether to overturn the town's bans on single-use plastic water bottles under 1 gallon and plastic takeout containers.
I believe it's absolutely ludicrous we can't buy a bottle of water in the town of Harwich. And here's a couple examples. I had a tree crew doing a job for me. I said, what do you guys want? Sodas, coffee, whatever. No, we want water. I said, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I got to drive to Dennis to get a case of water. Crazy. We had a situation with the fire department, a fire on the border. So a little contamination got in the line, so water department corrected it, fixed it, had to flush. We had to supply water for the town residents of North Harwich. Oh, we can't buy water in the town of Harwich. We have to drive to Hyannis with the dump trucks and fill up pellets and come back and hand out water. I just think it's absolutely crazy. You can't go to a Mariners game and get a bottle of water. You can't buy your grandchild a bottle of water. So I'd like to reconsider that and get it off and allow water bottles. The second part of this is the plasticware and the ban of plastics for takeout. When pandemic hit, these restaurants were struggling. Most of them would have gone out of business if they couldn't have provided the takeout services which they provided. And here along comes this constraint that's going to add 30 to 40 to 50% to their takeout costs. I think we should eliminate that as well, and I hope you guys support it. There's plenty of restaurants here that are going to give you their opinions.
There are leachates coming out of the chemicals used to make the plastics. There are over 50,000 nanoparticles of small plastics in every bottled water, small enough to enter your cells within your body. We all have plastic cell particulates in our brains, in our testicles, in our ovaries, everywhere. We are full of plastics because that's exactly what we're drinking. I hope that this message is clear. Plastics are harmful for our health and our environment.
But even some supporters of the bans recognize the struggles it places on local restaurants.
I agree that the fourth article in the bylaw should be rewritten. I move to amend the main motion to read as follows: to amend Chapter 125, the general bylaws, deleting Article 4, and we can continue discussing this article as it stands.
Could you bring that forward?
However, the amendment to the article turned into somewhat of an Abbott and Costello bit, with the wording of the amendment leading to quite a bit of confusion.
Are we deleting Article 4 from the article, or are we deleting Article 4 from the bylaws?
We're deleting Article 4 from the bylaws. We're leaving it in the article because the articles delete both sections. I know, and that's why Ms. Sabula brought that question.
Article 35 wants to
Delete
remove
both sections.
Both sections. I am asking to remove only Article 4.
Right.
Leave Article 4 in the Article
Deletion.
35.
Right.
Okay.
So
that
his motion is actually deleting Article 2, so it remains in the bylaw.
correct.
Yes.
And we will be acting on the restaurant takeout. That's ultimately, if this passes.
Further debate on the motion to amend only. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Ken Dixon, East Harwich. I believe that the ban of single plastic food services is already in place. Is that correct?
That's correct. Both of these are in place.
And Article 35 says we're going to delete that.
Right. Delete both of those.
So if we take Article 4 off of this and it's not part of this article to delete, that means they remain banned. Is that the intent?
No, it's not. It's just the opposite, sir. We're taking Article 2 out of the article.
You're taking Article 2 out. You
Right.
said Article 4 several times.
And so 4 remains to be deleted.
Is Article 2 coming off?
That's the motion.
Is it the motion?
Yes, it is.
Ultimately, the amended article passed with a vote of 132 to 110, repealing the ban on restaurant takeout containers but maintaining the town's ban on plastic water bottles. And in Chatham, it was the local airport that drew the sharpest debate. A citizen petition aimed to ban aircraft with wingspans over 49 feet, effectively grounding larger turboprops and jets.
I've got about 40 years of experience in aviation, military pilot, airline transport pilot rating, and about 30 of those years I've been working with and for the FAA. And on the surface, I sympathize with the concerns about the big airplanes flying into this airport, but I do not believe that passing this bylaw is going to be an appropriate way to handle it, because I think it will fail for sure. First off, the argument is to ban a particular design group of airplane. And then typically the FAA will not approve that if you look at the regulations, as I have done. With the exception, as the previous speakers pointed out, unless it can be shown that the operation of those aircraft will detrimentally affect the safety of all aircraft operating at CQX. So I think the better way to handle this is to work together. We could establish discussions between the proponents of this bylaw and the state and federal regulators. The airport's office of the FAA and the Flight Standards Service are the only two entities that can authorize an exemption to ban one particular design group of aircraft. Maybe that's possible, maybe it isn't, but if that doesn't work, let's think about voluntary compliance with the noise abatement or a fee structure to dissuade those operators from using the airport as much as they have in the past.
I wrote this bylaw.
and I'm happy to offer my legal services on a pro hac vice basis for free to the town to defend it.
Yeah.
You know, the Attorney General is a pretty good lawyer, so why don't we let her decide whether this is lawful or unlawful? I'm sure she's going to be supplied with plenty of legal memorandum after this, if this indeed passes. So I encourage you to pass it. You know, if these Design Group 2 planes require a 3,200-foot long runway according to FAA design standards, and if one of them overshoots into Meserve's shell station, the results would be horrific.
The vote passed narrowly, 192 to 166, but legal hurdles remain, as the bylaw now heads to the Attorney General for review. And that's it for our recap of this year's annual town meetings. For Cape Media News, I'm Mitch Sock.
Coming up after the break, sports and more.
Welcome back to Cape Media News.
The town of Barnstable is now offering free 2-hour razor clam shell fishing classes. No experience or gear is necessary to learn all the ins and outs of the quintessential Cape Cod activity. Classes will meet at the Scudder Lane Town Landing at 9 a.m. on May 17th and the 31st, and at 10 a.m. on June 1st and 14th. To register or ask questions, contact program instructor and shellfish propagation specialist Elizabeth Lewis.
Saturday, May 24th, is the opening day of the Hyannis Arts and Flea Market. Located at the new Hyannis Arts Hall, just footsteps from Main Street, the market will feature all kinds of unique items, such as arts and crafts, fabrics and fashion, photography, vintage collectibles, and even oddities. The market will be a weekly, year-round event, supporting local and seasonal artisans across the community. This venue, located at 320 Main Street in Hyannis, is also the new home of the Hyannis Film Festival, where they conduct regular film showings, including classic, independent, local, and short films. To learn more, visit hyannisarthall.com.
Hyannis Open Streets is back. The Greater Hyannis Civic Association has partnered with dozens of local organizations to bring you an afternoon of free fun activities for the whole family. This Sunday, May 18th, Main Street Hyannis will be closed to motor vehicles from 12 noon to 4 p.m. to allow the community to enjoy local musicians, food vendors, lawn games, kids' crafts, karaoke, and so much more. Participating businesses include Candy Corner, Chez Antoine Cafe, Redfish Bluefish Studio, and Hyannis Yacht Club, amongst others. Free parking is available at the North and South Street parking lots and at the Transportation Center.
The first white shark of the season was spotted this week off Madaket Beach on Nantucket. Beachgoers near Smith's Point watched as a seal swam toward the beach, with a shark following close behind. Scientists with the New England Aquarium confirmed, based on the seal's wounds, that a white shark was responsible. The first shark sightings of the season typically occur in May. Last year, the first white shark was spotted on May 23rd, and on May 20th in 2023. As the temperatures warm up and as we return to the beaches, it's important to stay shark smart. Be aware that sharks often hunt in shallow water. While shark bites to humans are rare, they aren't impossible. If you choose to enter the water, follow the Atlantic White Sharks Conservancy's guidelines on shark safety. You can view these guidelines and more information on white sharks at atlanticwhiteshark.org.
And lastly, this evening to Ryan Downs with a recap of This Week in Sports.
Welcome back to Cape Media News Sports segment. I'm your host and local sports guy, Ryan Downs. We have 1 week left in the regular season for all of our teams, so let's take a closer look at each of them and see who's moving on and who's wrapping it up. But first, let's take a look back at 2 games that took place this past week. Starting off with Monomoy softball. On Monday, they left school early to travel to Nantucket, and on the island, it was business as usual for the Sharks. Monomoy is 7-0 in recent history of these 2 programs, and the last time they came to Nantucket they put up 19 unanswered runs. This time around, it was eerily similar. Behind the bats and efforts of Kinsey Lister, Belle Belfoy, and Willa Layton, the Sharks found themselves up 20-0 at the turn of the fourth inning. Although Nantucket was eventually able to scrap together 4 runs, it was not enough as the final score came to be 22-4. Lister finished with the win after pitching the complete game. She also finished with 6 RBIs that came off of her 2 3-run home runs in the 3rd and 4th inning. Layton also finished with 6 RBIs and Belfoy with 5, as the bats were lively for the Sharks. We were also able to catch a baseball matchup between DY and Sandwich this past Tuesday. The two had just played each other last Thursday, and Sandwich won 2-1. They entered this matchup with DY looking to snap a 3-game losing streak and Sandwich trying to extend their 6-game winning streak. DY found themselves in some tough spots early on, but managed to stay level-headed and strand some of Sandwich's base runners. But the bats just weren't there for DY, and it could have been due to the fact that Sandwich's pitcher, Matthew Taylor, was absolutely dealing. He pitched the complete game, earning 10 strikeouts along the way and holding DY to less than a handful of hits. Sandwich was also able to hold off DY's late-game push when they had bases loaded in both the 6th and 7th inning, keeping the Dolphins scoreless. The final score was 5-0 Sandwich. And now let's look at our teams and see where everybody stands. Barnstable Baseball is 4-12 and ranks as the 51st team in Division I. After today, they'll only have 3 games left. And softball is 3-13. They'll also have 3 games remaining on their schedule after today. But unfortunately, Barnstable will not be moving on to the playoffs in baseball or softball this year. The DY baseball team is in an interesting spot. At the start of the month, they were 8-3. Having lost 5 straight now, they're 8-8. But as of this past Tuesday, the 13th, with the reported 8-6 record, they ranked as the 10th seed in Division IV. The softball team, on the other hand, is only 6-9 and ranked as the 60th team in Division III. So it looks like DY baseball will most likely be moving on to the postseason, but softball might not be. And finally, Monomoy, their baseball team has a record of 10-5. They rank 22nd in Division IV in the latest rankings, and that Division IV bracket is going to be loaded up with Cape teams, including St. John Paul II, DY, Mashpee, Monomoy, and Upper Cape Tech. And of course, their softball team is just unstoppable. With a 16-0 record, they'll breeze into the playoffs, but will likely draw a tough first-round matchup as they're only recently ranked as the 18th seed in Division IV. So there you have it. It looks like 3 of our 6 teams will be making postseason appearances. But of course, anything can change in the next week. So we'll come back to that in the next episode. And that's it for this week's Sports Update. Back to you, Jamie and Suzanne.
Thanks, Ryan. The Master Gardener Association of Cape Cod is holding their 26th annual plant sale tomorrow.
That's right, Jamie. Starting at 9 a.m., the Cape Cod Fairgrounds will be filled with pollinator-friendly native plants, including perennials, vegetables, annuals, herbs, and dahlias, locally grown by 200 members of the Master Gardener Association.
And thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story you'd like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org.
Stay up to date on all the local happenings by following us on Facebook and YouTube.
And make sure to tune in every Friday at 5:30 for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. For Cape Media News, I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Suzanne Tenaire.